What's up, fuckers? Sorry. What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about Suicide Squad Get Joker number 2, where we see Harley Quinn give a pole dance? Yeah, I'm serious. Alright, now if you watched my first video about this particular miniseries, you would know that I already have an issue with the fact that this is like magazine size for pretty much no reason. I mean, who are you trying to be, DC? Heavy metal? Like, why are you doing this format for your comics? Just stop it. Like this is needlessly sized for no reason at all. But let's get into what we're actually looking at here, because if you will remember, basically what happened in the genesis of this particular series was Amanda Waller assembled a new Suicide Squad that was being led by Jason Todd, aka Red Hood, to go and not only apprehend but kill the Joker, I believe. If I'm misremembering, I may be misremembering, but wouldn't you send somebody to go and kill someone like the Joker? Anyway, so they went to go and apprehend him, and then Joker comes in, and apparently what we find out here is that he probably killed Amanda Waller, and now he has the control box for all of their detonation devices. Oh, they don't have head bombs anymore. What they have is like some sort of phosphorus injection that will cause them to burst into flames. So Joker now has control of that, which is literally the last person on Earth you want to have that power, but he has that now, and so the Suicide Squad and Red Hood, Jason Todd, have to go and find him and stop him before he kills all of them in just gruesome fashion. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into what we actually have here. So we start out with this part actually kind of confused me, I'm not gonna lie, because it was just, not only was it weird for the Joker, but it was weird because of what happened next. So we start on this thing where Joker's just kind of standing at the ocean, kind of doing like some sort of 90s boy band R&B type of thing where he's dressed all in white and kind of talking almost poetically. So he says, "This is how I spend my mornings after a long tiring night of The nights are never the same, but by the dawn's early light, I come to fight. And it's not just for me. Well, mainly it is, because I've been burdened with the knowledge. So yes, it's self-preservation. But I fight for all of you too, really. Look at it. Relentless. It never stops. Attacking, retreating, coming for us." And then this is the part where he decides, and this is what I'm saying, it's confusing, because he takes his gun and starts shooting at the ocean. And then we can see this scene where apparently the new Suicide Squad is just watching him do this. I don't know if he sent them this video or if he just posted it online, but they're, for whatever reason, watching it. So he continues and says, "The tide never gives up. It just keeps pounding and pounding. The best I can do is keep it at bay." Water puns. Anyway, so he's like, we see Harley Quinn laughs because I guess she got the joke. And then they have Joker continue by saying, "Or is it? This threat is I keep to myself, afraid. I've gone it alone. Help me." So we come back to the team because I guess that was the end of his video or whatever. And then they're talking about like, this is a stupid idea. I think it's Wild Dog saying like, "This is stupid" or whatever. And Jason tells him like, no, Yonder Man tells him, "No, you're stupid. This is crazy." So Pebbles says, "Yeah, crazy it is. Scary crazy." So we get the internal monologue where it says scary as in no joke. I get it. I'm not sure any other of us does. Harley especially. But what Joker said, the desperate fear he attempted to hide in his voice, I've heard it before. Hell, more than once. It's all about trying to not look into the abyss. Now a lot of folks, they consider the abyss death. And good for them, seriously. Hopefully they'll never get down with what the abyss really is. That moment of accepted hopelessness. That is a very bad thing. The kind of thing one would do anything to avoid. But for all the wrong reasons. Kind of the same reasons we all agreed to this mission. The mission. Jesus Christ. And so they start attacking the water too? I don't know why. I don't know if like Joker sent them that video and was like, you have to go and shoot at the ocean or I'll kill all of you. And so that's why they're doing it. But they attack the ocean for a few minutes. And then we see where Red Hood calls like Amanda Waller's. I don't know if he was like second in command or whatever, but he was one of the people working with Waller as far as like this new team. He was supposed to be like their handler or something like that. So he calls him, he says, "Oh dear." Well, because the guy says, "Oh dear." And Jason says, "Oh dear. Larry, Waller is dead or worse. And all you can say is, oh dear." So he's like, all right, no. Joker has the box. You're sure? He tells him, would you like me to describe what Firefly baked in his own costume smells like? So this is where Larry answers back by saying, you call what you wear costumes? And Jason's just like, he says, I mean, I know we do. Like civilians, we call it what you wear costumes. But I just kind of figured y'all had like some other name, like probably uniforms or something, anything else other than costume. Anyway, Jason says, Larry, Joker has Waller's boombox. And Larry answers by saying, she called it the steering wheel, to which Jason does this thing again, which I noted it in my first video. He's like, that's tight. And again, I don't think anybody calls things tight anymore. They did when I was growing up, but they don't anymore. Anyway, so he says that, and then Larry fires back by saying, I like boombox better, and I have to agree with that. I prefer boombox, considering what it actually does. Then again, they don't have bombs again, so I guess you can call it whatever you want, but steering wheel doesn't really work that well either. Anyway, so Larry is saying, like, what should I do? And Jason tells him, well, other than Firefly, we're all alive. Joker could have killed us all, but he didn't. So Larry is saying, like, that's good. And then Jason says, or maybe it isn't. Understand? He's like, right, okay, I'll take care of it. And Red Hood, he's like, yeah, thanks for letting me know. So they go on, and they're trying to figure out, like, okay, what's our next step from here now that we're all basically expecting any or all of us to die at any given moment? So they're sitting there, and then Silver Banshee says, I'm dead knackered. Been toe-to-toe with Big Blue himself. Felt better. But Yonder Man says, say, Plastique, can I ask you something? She's like, sure. He says, when you touch things, you can make them blow up. She's like, yeah. He says, so if, like, you touch the water, would the whole ocean explode? And you know what? That's maybe a good question, like, because it's the entirety of whatever it is she's touching that she can blow. So could she blow up an entire landmass by just like touching like the earth and just like willing it to explode? I don't know, maybe. Or maybe it would take too much power for her to actually do that. I don't know. So Harley says, you think anyone over there has any sunscreen? To which Harley's like, Harley, who are you? And then they look over and they see all of these just like people staring at them and shit. So they're like, yeah, we should probably go. So they leave from there, and then we see where they go to this like auto body shop. And so Jason is saying like, why? Because Toyman, if you'll remember, they're working with Toyman, who's sort of like their tech guy right now. He's kind of looking at Jason and everything, and he says like, why? So he says, well, it's a real Snickers design. So Jason asks him Snickers, but Harley corrects him and says like, you mean Reese's, not Snickers, because basically he says cellularly your nervous systems now carry a dormant phosphorus spike protein, and Jason says that can be activated with the push of a button. He says not exactly. The activator is the nano, which is what the button pushes. So he says, Jason asks him, how can we remove the nano? And he says, ever heard of a lobotomy or ever hear of a lobotomy? And that's where we see Wild Dog is like, I knew it. I fucking knew it. I just imagine him speaking in like an Alex Jones type of voice as we continue to go on and everything. But anyway, so he's like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. What did I tell you? And Toyman says, all of you are small potatoes. Who does Waller have that designed this is the real question. That's probably a really good question, because like before they were just using like head bombs. Now they're using some sort of like specialized chemical or whatever that can immolate their entire body. So yeah, it would be nice to know who exactly it was that designed that. But Wild Dog tells him that would be Bill fucking Gates, dickweed. So he's just like pausing and he's like, Wayne's the only one who tells it like it is. So he says, am I the only one that understands who's really pulling the strings here? So they just kind of ignore him. And then we see where we go on to this thing where Plastique is talking to Yonder Man and Pebbles outside on the ice cream truck or whatever. And so she's asking like if Yonder Man is able to fly. He says, super fly, bro. Teleporting got me. teleporting got me, but then I'm not blue. And they're like, no, you seem pretty happy. He starts laughing, but he's like, I am, but that's not what I meant. I mean, I'm not blue. Like, dude, all you black guys, you're black something. And I was like, wait a minute. When I read this the first time, I was like, where are you going with this? And then he follows that up by saying black lightning, black manta, black canary, black mamba, rest in peace, brother, black. And then they're like, how come you're not black rock? Well, yeah, that's where Meow Meow asks Pebbles, like, why aren't you Black Rock? He's like, how the... That's the code name they gave me. And all them other motherfuckers you just mentioned, be damn sure Whitey named them too. And you know what? Yeah, that's definitely true. Although, he had Black Canary in here, but she's not black. I mean, she was in the new movie, but in the comics, she's still white and blonde. So... Anyway, so we go on to where Yonder Man is like, the fucking man, fuck him, right? And he says, what do you think you're doing? Or this is where Jason comes up and is like, what do you think you're doing? This is where Yonder Man basically like tells him like, yo, I have to be high for my powers to actually work. Like, that's the only way that they work. Pebbles tells him like, yo, I'm literally made out of rocks. This shit doesn't even bother me. And then Plastique just says, well, I like the smell. Which, I mean... I have met some people like that who like the smell of weed. That's probably the weirdest thing you could appreciate about it, especially if you're not smoking it. Why would you like the smell? It's really weird, but like I said, I have met people like that. So, hey, to each their own. So Yonder Man says, you think he bought any of that as Jason's walking away? And Pebbles is like, who gives a shit? So... This is where we go over to Silver Banshee, who comes up on Meow Meow as she's like eating ants and shit. And she's basically asking her like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And she just says, you know, I eat ants. It's something I've done since I was a kid. And I basically kind of like crave them. So I guess she's an ant eater. I guess that's the thing here. But anyway, she's like, yeah, she says it's like she craves them. And Silver Banshee says like, that's kind of weird. But she just shrugs it and starts walking away. So she takes off, and then Silver Banshee's like, you're an odd one, Meow Meow. I'll say that. What was it landed you in Belle Rev? And she says, prostitution. So she's like, you're shitting me. She's like, well, some guys have weird kinks, and sometimes things got out of hand. So, I mean, I will absolutely agree with that sentiment. There are a lot of guys who have very weird kinks. I don't appreciate it when y'all want to tell me what your kinks are. Straight guys, I'm looking at you. I don't know why y'all feel so comfortable telling me about your kinks, but please stop. I cannot suffer any more nightmares. Please stop. Anyway, so we go on where Silver Banshee tells her, like, bet them Johns had it coming. And Meow Meow's like, that's a nice thing to say. Why are you bad? But she's like, I'm not bad. I had a temper, I suppose. Besides, what's wrong with using power if you got it for a bit of personal gain? So... Meow Meow asks her, like, you ever kill anyone? She's like, a few. Have you? She says, lots. Like I said, sometimes things got out of hand. And she says, well, aren't you a wee villain? She says, I wonder, Banshee, given different circumstances, if I could have been a hero. But Banshee just tells her, I don't think so. So we go back over to the rest of the team, and we see Wild Dog here, who's hanging out with Red Hood and Harley, and she's kind of like dealing with the little robot. He says, this waiting is driving me crazy. So Harley starts to like chime in and like give us a little bit more insight on the Joker's psychosis. I don't even know what you could call it this way, because it's so far beyond just a regular psychosis. Anyway, she says, I've watched him sitting in a chair or a car or lying in bed, just giggling. And I've asked him, what are you laughing at? Nothing, he says. And it's driving them crazy. You know what? Fair enough. I could absolutely see the Joker doing that. Just laughing to himself because he knows that that's going to unnerve people. Sounds about right. And so Red Hood's asking him, so this is a part of Joker's plan. She's like, he doesn't have a plan. He never does. So he asks her, then what is he doing? She says, waiting, just like you. And then we go back outside to the team where they're playing like basketball and shit. So Pebbles goes up for this shot, but he gets blocked by Yonder Man, who uses his powers to kind of like block it or whatever. And so Pebbles tells him like, man, don't be using your powers. Shit ain't fair. But Yonder tells him like, dude, you're like 80 feet tall. I'm just evening the odds. And then Meow Meow comes up and is like, Pebbles? And he's like, yeah. She says, who's Livingston? Because earlier he mentioned the name Livingston, like as if he was like a sports commentator. So he says, me. That's my name. My like real name. She starts laughing. He's like, I'm sorry, is that funny to you? She says, excuse me, but Pebbles is funny. Living stone is what you are. And then I guess she just walks away, to which Yonder's like, oh wow, Zen shit, dude, right? Mind blown. He's just standing there like, damn. So we see this like new group approach them and everything. And then like Pebbles says, hey coach, because he's calling out to Red Hood. So he says, yeah, we got company. So this group starts addressing them and says, Red Hood, that name, you sound like one of us. And he says, that's what I said. So he says, our friend is having a party tonight. And he asks like if that means their boss. He says, no, I mean your boss. He wants you there. But Harley says, just him? He says, all of you, especially you, referring to Harley. So Wildcat says, or Wild Dog, sorry, why don't you tell that green-haired monkey dick we're busy? And then they just kind of look at each other. He's like, all right, bet. Yeah, I'll go ahead and let him know right now. To which Wild Dog's like, oh, shit. Listen, he can take a joke, right? Like, he's not trying to die right now. So as he's pulling out his phone, Plastique just reaches through the fence and causes it to, like, explode. So he throws it on the ground and they all, like, back up and everything. And then after the phone explodes, he says, you fucking bitch. But he gets, like, cut off by Meow Meow, who uses her mouth tentacles to, like, grab his wrist and, like, knock the gun out of his hand. But Red Hood calls them all off by saying like, all right, I'm sorry. Some of my associates are, and then the other dude answers him by saying assholes. He says, no, they're all assholes. I was going to say ungracious. He says, a party? A party sounds fun. I think we can all use a party. So don't bring any weapons. That doesn't sound like a party to me, because this is where they're going to go to the actual party, but they have to disarm themselves, obviously. The Joker's not just going to let them walk in with guns and shit. So Harley's asking, what are you worried about? I'm sure they'll have plenty there. But Wild Dog just says, that's exactly what I'm worried about. So Jason Todd says, the only weapon that matters is the one in Joker's hands that's pointed at all our heads. But I think it's Plastique who corrected him by saying, you mean in. He says, Plastique, yeah. Plastique, why do you always need to correct me? So we see Jason saying, look, the point is we are about to get close to the weapon that's pointed in our heads, okay? To which Plastique has to be like, score. So she took a little bit of a victory lap on that one. And then we see where, is this Wild Dog? No, this is... Oh, who cares? So they're asking like, do we have a plan? And Jason's just like, well, I hope to. I plan to. So they show up to the club. And we get this thing where we can see like they have the neon signs and everything. But in classic fashion, they have one of the like letters that's out. So as they're coming up, who is it as? I think that, I'm not entirely certain who that is, but someone's like, what are nuds? Because instead of nudes, it says nuds because the E is out. So they're getting ready to go in, and then Pebbles is like, yo, boss, ain't no way I'm going into that place with the creeping toy man. And Harley's just like, yeah, that's not cool. So Wild Dog says, so let's waste him and get the party started. But of course, Red Hood cuts him off. He's like, no, that's not part of the plan. He says, you stay in the truck. But Toy Man tries to argue with him. He's like, no, I'm not going to hear it. So he goes back to the truck. They go back into the club. And then we see this part where they're like patting down each of them, and they make this like close up on them, like patting down Mad Dog to make sure he doesn't have anything, right? So this will become important later on. So we see where they're going on from there, and like after he gets patted down, Wild Dog keeps going in, and they find like a small gun on him. So he's like, what, did you think I wasn't going to try? And then he keeps going on. He's like, you guys are all pussies. So he walks in, and then we see Silver benching, like, of course he has a small one. So they go in and they start kind of just like figuring out, okay, what is it we supposed to do? Because Joker isn't there at the moment. So we see Wild Dog saying like, nice place you got here, compadre. And they're kind of looking around like, okay, where's the boss? And he says that he's running late. So Harley says, fashionably, of course. But Wild Dog says, maybe for a pride parade. So what do we do till he shows? And the dude tells him like, you can party on. So they start doing their whole thing where they're just kind of like watching the girls. It's mostly Mad Dog or Wild Dog. God damn, why are names so hard tonight? Anyway, so we can see where he's basically saying like, this is going to be exciting for him. And then we literally get the whole thing where like the strippers start dancing and shit. So they're just kind of there waiting for Joker to show up. And it says all he needed was the tiniest opening. Like, sorry, a virus. Oh god, that felt so heavy-handed. Anyway, so he says, just looking to infect. He had that way, maybe the only thing consistent about him. The ability to turn your weakness into his strength. So we see where they continue like watching the dancers and everything, and Jason's like saying like, "Why are you distracted by this?" But Mad Dog is just like, hey, it's if we're here and we're forced to do this, then I might as well actually get into it or whatever, right? So Banshee comes up and says, "I can take his head off from her if you want." He's like, "I do, but don't waste your breath." So that's when we all of a sudden see Joker walks into the club. And we're getting this whole internal monologue, I believe, from Jason, who's saying, like, it's hard to describe what overcomes you when he steps into a room. See, you sense him before you see him, and once you see him, you can't escape what he means. Best I can do is say it must be like when a rat gets dropped in a snake's cage. The confusion of actually understanding one's place in the universe. That kind of panic. You'd know what I mean, or be dead, if you ever met him. Or you'd be me. So we do this thing where Joker's trying to like get into Jason's head. So he comes up to him and he's like, "Oh, was it? No joke. It's killing me not to kill you again." So Jason just tells him like, "Again? What do you mean again? Like you failed. I'm still alive." And then he asks him, "Well, guess what? I'm not anymore." To which Joker replies, "Dead?" He's like, "Huh, you got me there." And then Joker tells him, "Well, nowhere else I've got you under your skin," someone else says. And then we see this thing where it was Harley who was talking to him and completed that sentence. So he's like, "Oh, Harley, like what? Quack, quack, quack. My homemade obsession. My just desserts. Et tu, puddin'?" So he continues like doing his thing where he says, "I loved you sometimes, and sometimes I hated you. No, it was more intense than hate. It was, that would be love, wouldn't it? Always. You drove me crazy." Or ER. The cat's out of the bag and the bag's in the water under the bridge. So what do you say, medicine woman? For old time's sake, shake that boom boom or boom boom. So Jason Todd tries to tell her like, "No, you don't have to." And then I think they messed up the like word bubbles in this second one, because it looks like Jason saying he's going to do it, but then Harley's like, "No, don't worry, I'll do it because this is a straight bar." So she basically is just like, so, "Trust me, this is a straight bar. They want to see Harley Quinn dancing up there pretty much naked, not Jason Todd." Anyway, so Jason, I guess he tried to like offer to be the one to do it, even though, like I said, the only people in here half naked running around on a stage are all females because of a reason. He decided he was going to try and like step in to take her place, but of course she's just like, "No, I'll do it." And then Joker says, "You will eventually. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, boy and girls, let's welcome to the stage an oldie but a goody two-shoes now. My ex, who better bring the XXX if she doesn't want to explode." Oh, stop it, Azarello. Anyway, so he brings her out, and then we see where she literally does come out to do like the whole thing. She literally goes in to like the pole dance. And then we see this thing where like they continue it all the way through. But anyway, we see where Mad Dog is going up, and he's like, decided he's going to go ahead and give her some money. And of course, Red Hood has a problem with that. And he's like, under any other circumstances, he'd be dead. These Russians would take care of it. Or I would. Wild Dog has gone too far. He's pissing off everybody. Like he's daring us to screw with him. Us. I said us. He's put me in the boat with them. Yeah, under any, but then we see this part where we see him go up and put some money into Harley's like G-string or whatever. And I mean, it's not that Harley's not attractive. It's not that I have a problem seeing attractive women look attractive and sexual in books like this. It's the fact that she's literally doing a strip dance. She's literally pole dancing. Why? Why does Joker want to see that? Why does anybody want to see that? Like, even beyond like the whole, well, it's about control or it's about humiliation. Like, there's so many other ways that would have been cool to do that other than just having Harley do a pole dance. You didn't have to do that. You really didn't. You absolutely did not have to do that. But, well, to hell with it. You put it in the book, right? So let's just keep going. So we see Mad Dog goes up, he puts the money in the G-string, but then right as Jason's like, you know what, we're going to handle this right now, he notices that she actually pulls out a razor blade that was tucked in the money Wild Dog just gave her. So he's like, oh, okay, he was actually trying to give her a way to escape. So he says, okay, Harley, or he's thinking to himself, okay, Harley, let's see what you're made of. And unfortunately, it's just not enough, because we see where she continues doing her thing. She finishes her like dance or whatever. And then she goes up to him. And even though Joker is looking like very relaxed, he even like literally lifts his head back so she has full access to his like throat. But we see where Jason's like, when Joker's distracted, get the box. Once you're next to him, I'm pretty sure outside is where you'll want to be. She pulled her punch. Noted. I couldn't pull mine. It's got to look real. So that's where we see like they've apprehended Wild Dog, and then he's kind of trying to fight back and everything against that. So he like throws a gun to Jason, and then they kind of start just blasting their way out. But then we get this other like green projection version of He-Man, I'm assuming, who he comes out and like the Yonder Man kind of like grabs onto him and jumps away. But I mean, it doesn't really account for much, because once he lands on the other side, like the ghost is pretty much gone. So he's walking away. He's like, I did it. I did it. I did it. But of course, Toyman has to come up and says, I know the box, dude. So he's like telling him, don't worry, I've got the box right here with me. And then he proceeds to literally break the neck of Yonder Man. And then from that, he kind of like takes the device he had from him. So the rest of the squad comes running out, and they're like, yo, what's going on? What happened? And then Pebble says, Toyman, what happened to Yon? And then before he can even finish that sentence, all of a sudden Toyman is just like choking his ass out. So we see that thing where he's like fighting with him. And then he basically almost manages to get him like unconscious or whatever. But that's where we leave off on that particular fight, because then we go to this thing where they, one of them like tore Toyman in half, only to find out, oh no, he was actually a robotic projection. Oh, there he goes, Pebbles. So he's like, Toyman is a toy? A fucking robot? So they all take off like, all right, we need to pursue whatever ship this is, because apparently they're wishing us harm. So Silver Banshee comes up on the dead body and is asking like, what just happened? And then the medical doctor or whatever they are on this ship is like, my guess is the cavalry has arrived. But we see this thing where like, I'm guessing as soon as Silver Banshee got out there, she just got blasted into literal oblivion. And then we finish by seeing like a Wild Dog being like, honey, guess again. And we see this thing where we see a more like well-known version of the deaths or of the Suicide Squad kind of coming into frame. So we have like Rick Flag, Deathstroke. I'm going to assume that's probably going to be Jace. And then Peacemaster, Deadshot, and who is that? The world may never know. But anyway, yeah, that's what we got from this second issue. It's not that it was a bad story. There were a bunch of things in there that were just kind of wonky, that didn't seem to make sense to real life. But I mean, hey, if that's how he wants to write his stories, that's how he's going to write his stories, regardless of how I feel about it. So, hey, go on with yourself. But I guarantee you, every time you put out anything bad that I actually read, I will make fun of it. I'm not going to like talk shit on you, but I will absolutely talk shit about your comics. So that's for everyone to decide on their own. But I think that's going to do it for me on this review. So if you actually enjoyed this review, then definitely like the video. Make sure you are subscribed. And if you like, then go ahead and share out the video. I always appreciate it. But if you're done here, then go and read a book. And if not, well, then I'll see you on my next video.